Okay guys, so we're going to continue with the aquatic ecosystems, alright? So, we're going to go into the marine ecosystems. Marine ecosystems are found in oceans and seas, okay? And we classify them in two different ways. One is depending on the distance from the coast, okay? So when it's close to the coast, we call it coastal zone, whilst if it's far away is when we talk about open sea, okay? And the second factor is the depth, okay? So we have a first zone where the photosynthesis can happen. It's what we call the eutrophic zone. Then where there's a bit of light, but then it's very dark, okay? It's a bit of a twilight, okay? It's the bisexual zone. And when it's completely dark, it's the abyssal zone, okay? So let's start by the distance from the shore. Okay, now when it's close to the coast, we call it the neritic zone. Okay, in this part, we've got an enormous biodiversity. Okay, we've got lots of different living beings that live in these ecosystems. Usually, it's always with light. Okay, so there's always algae, etc., that can do the photosynthesis. When we go about further away, we've got the oceanic zone. All right, here the diversity is big, but what happens is that there's a lot of space, so living beings are very distant from one to another. Okay, now depending on the depth, okay, we've got the eutrophic zone, or what in the book it calls epipelastic zone. Okay, it goes from the surface to around 200 meters deep. Okay, as you can see there. And what happens here is that here are going to be the producers, okay, the phytoplankton doing the photosynthesis, and is where there's going to be more living beings, okay, fish, etc., because they can eat this food, okay, the what do I call it, the plankton, okay, the phytoplankton. Then a bit deeper, okay, we've got the vital zone. Okay, in this case we go from more or less 200 to 2000 meters. Okay, here there are going to be no producers because there's no photosynthesis. Okay, but most animals can live here because they feed on what falls from the eutrophic zone. Okay, and then really deep, okay, we've got the abyssal zone. It's completely dark. Okay, we're talking from 2000 up to 10, 11 to 16 kilometers deep. Okay, and well, they live on organic material that fall from these two zones. Okay, right. On the other hand, we've got the freshwater ecosystems. In this case, we have two types, okay? When the water runs, like in rivers, in streams, okay, in springs, in general, anything that flows, okay? And zones where it's more still, okay? Like, for example, lakes, ponds, lagoons, okay? We go to this part first, okay? Rivers, streams, etc. Water that flows is what we call the lotic zone, okay? And, well, the main factor in these two ecosystems are going to be the oxygen, okay? So the amount of oxygen is going to depend on two things: temperature and the movement of the water. If the water is moving faster, there's more oxygen, and if the temperature is low, there's more oxygen, okay? So usually rivers it has the difficulties for the living beings that it's moving, so they've got to swim against the water all the time. But in exchange, usually it's water very rich in oxygen. On the other hand, the lentic zones, okay, lakes, lagoons, ponds, etc., okay, are waters that are very still. So what happens is that usually there's not as much oxygen, okay, so it doesn't move as much and it's usually warmer, so the oxygen comes out. Okay, so although it's easier to live in it because the water isn't moving as fast, it's more difficult to breathe. Okay, so living beings have to decide if they're going to be living in rivers or lakes. Okay, depending on what they adapt, they live in one or the other. All right. So with this, we would finish the aquatic ecosystems. Okay, to finish the unit, next day we're going to have a class about the soil. See you soon, guys.